Connecting software. We are good. All right.
Now can I do my picture?
Where did my zones go? They're all gone? Okay, my levels are gone. That's great. Let's see here. Fed day, Fed day. You silly guy.
I don't have to be quiet. I don't have to be quiet. I have to be quiet. Wow. Hi.
Hello. I'll see you later, Max. Market's gonna open. It is Fed day today. 6 seconds, 3 seconds. Fed day. See what happens. I have to redraw some levels here because apparently my platform deleted all my drawings here. So let's see what's going on with that. Not looking to trade this very opening time frame anyway. So let's see. CBOT, CME futures, just making sure we're on the right thing. Front month, NQ, alrighty. 5 minutes. We were pretty flat overnight. We worked down lower after earnings on Microsoft earnings. I didn't really pay attention, to be honest, of what came out. I think Microsoft beat and didn't matter. It still sold us off, but now Microsoft is popping up. I would expect this little gap here to get filled. Let's see if we can set up our levels again now here. Overnight lows and overnight highs. Really, we're stuck in this little range here. The lows are going to be red. We add a couple pixels to that so it'll be able to see. And then the green for the overnight high. Very simple. Very simple with what I do with my colors. We're probably not going to get much going on. I'm limiting myself to probably 3 good trades. We've been over trading on days where I have been off, so I'm going to do my best, especially on today, Fed day, to not overtrade. Looking to get one good trade out of the morning session if I can, and try and hold it a little bit. We drew down pretty good yesterday on that 100K count, and this is the 50K count here. We're gonna look to build this thing back up now. So we got no zones here as far as I have on my actual trading platform, but on my trading view here, we're sitting below this zone, right? Let me try and get out of the Microsoft for a minute. Doesn't really mean much at the moment. Everything's all Fed based today, right? So here, if you're looking at my longer term chart, it is 30 minutes, but this is all that, everything from that all-time high push, right? We made this push on Friday, January 19th, right all the way through all day, all the way, and then we got into Sunday, continued that rally up. That whole week, we've stayed within this range here. We chopped up until Tuesday. We got some releases, and we rallied to all-time highs once again. Sold off, came back up again the next day. Then we re-entered by the end of the week and finished our week back within this range. Same thing this week. We opened up, chopped around a bit, popped up on whatever. I don't really... more so people probably trying to grab liquidity up here to get this sell side position on for this Fed meeting day. We had Microsoft earnings yesterday, so I did kind of expect to stay within this range. Monday we did a good job of playing with this range here. Yesterday, not so much, even though I was anticipating a sell-off. I chopped myself up a bit yesterday and took a few hits. So today we're looking to see what we could do below this zone. If we can get back up into that high end of the zone, maybe clear out some of that overnight high choppiness, and then we can rotate back down to the bottom side. We'll probably stay range bound here. I'm interested in seeing what it does over the next few hours. We're going to definitely slow down as we approach 2 o'clock. So I wouldn't expect it to do a whole hell of a lot. But anything below this zone here, still going to look to kind of rotate it back to the bottom half. Anything that will pop up and sit on top of this zone here, we're going to look to rotate back to yesterday's breakdown zone. So let's just be pretty mindful of that area there. We did, like yesterday, we were looking for this area to crack, which it ended up doing. Just right at 3 o'clock, that's when it melted, and then we came right to that 525 level that I was expecting, right literally at close, ticked off on there. If we were just a little bit more patient and drew out some of our entries a little bit better, we would have been possibly could have capitalized on that whole move there. But you would have had to be really, really patient, a little bit wider stops, all that. So, like I said, Fed day, I'm going to try and be on here only till 11 today. I may come on for the 2 o'clock release, but I do have some things that I want to get going on. I may go shopping for a new vehicle because my lease is up on my truck, so I kind of need to get that done soon. So what better day to do that than Fed day? We are live over here on YouTube and on Tradecaster. We are trying to build that Tradecaster community up. Link is in the bio on there. I'm going to put the link to my lobby in the YouTube stream, so you can look over there if you want to. We also have a brand new coffee company that I am pretty proud of. Wearing one of the shirts today, Future of Coffee. Clever. Let's see if we can get this thing. Share it. Really trying to be more patient today. Right here, we're in the middle of an opening range area. Nothing to do with any of this. I'm not going to try and force anything today, especially after yesterday. If we do get above this high, I guess we kind of closed that gap in that overnight session there. So not necessary that it closes the gap, but this sell-off here, it has gotten, cleaned up right pre-market here, right? And then we're looking to see if this overnight high will kind of get tagged and what happens above there, because that overnight high is pretty much in conjunction with the top end of my zone there, right? So if we break above and hold this zone here, look to rotate and clean up some of that selling from yesterday so that on the Fed release, they can do whatever they want with it. Until then, we got to just be patient. Anything that holds down below this zone, like I said, could continue to rotate to the downside. Let's see if I can draw up some of these levels again because they disappeared on me. Our opening range is pretty tight. This is a 5-minute chart just because I'm trying to get some of these levels back. Let's just see here. These are the all-time high levels, so I'm going to use that. Extend that right because that's going to be pretty important. We're going to look and see. Let me get on the 30. Anything down here, this level here is important. All these wicks. I find that to be pretty important there. Let's use this. That works. We will right that. Like I said, these areas are very general. They're not super exact, but they do play out pretty well, right? We use this area to draw up the zone, but then look at over here. We got 1 touch, 2 touches on it, another touch, and a flush below it, right? So we do have some confluences on those zones. We're looking to kind of just be mindful of consolidation where price gets congested and wants to reapproach, right? That's the kind of zone we want to see. in that congestion area, right? This might be a little wider than I normally like, but I'm gonna use that. And then back to these highs here. Might just use some. No, we'll do this. That looks good there, and we'll just ray that as well. So you can see live how I go about drawing some of my zones up. I do them on, like I said, the 30-minute, looking for some confluence. A lot of the wicks that we have involved here, I don't know why it didn't save before. Usually it saves my drawings, but today, for some reason, not so much. I'm going to use this as just a line, and because that was pretty important yesterday, and then top end here as well. Less of a zone, more of a exact price level for these areas, just to play with and be mindful of, because we haven't had so much time at these zones to acquire any sort of real true levels. Like I said, today is Fed day, so we are less likely to be jumping in and out of things. No direction. Look at this opening range. 100 ticks. Which is, it doesn't seem like 100 ticks for some reason. It seems a little bit smaller, but look at this whole, all overnight, right? Overnight, we stayed in this area here, and then it chopped up. Once we got to around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you got that sell-off. Now everything is trying to rebound and see where it'll end up. If we flush the overnight low, I do have that bigger zone below, and I expected this thing to kind of come back into our supply zone a little bit further. It all it did was just tick it, and then now start to rotate back down. So we do have this big run up from Friday that was just a straight up move, literally not a single red 30-minute candle on that day. So maybe some of that is still trying to get cleaned up for that Fed meeting, which we can get down to 250, 17,250. So that's right down here. I have that same. So you can see I drew up the zone without kind of looking at the other one, and you can see that is where we ended up drawing it out. All right. Just really like today is a very, very patient type day. We're not trying to be, especially after chopping ourselves up yesterday, we're not trying to be crazy. Like, I mean, you can see the price action. NASDAQ within it's only 841. Most of the time, NASDAQ is doing a dance here, right? A lot of moving around, trying to find price discovery here. But right now, it's Fed day. We don't have a ton of information. We don't have what you would consider like big players entering the market right now because of this. J Powell trying to make his name out there today at 2 o'clock. Let's see if I have my trading economics calendar. We are going to get Chicago PMI at 845 here, which is not a red folder, but it is still a moving number. It's interesting. American Express has gained 8.9%, and in the last 12 months, it has increased 17.31%. People are spending money on their credit cards. All this data is just showing that there's not going to be rate cuts, just like Deck was mentioning earlier in his alerts. I mean, I have been saying it nonstop that there's no way, but also they've been doing things a little differently than anticipated in the past. So, like, we never anticipated a cut for today, right? There's not going to be a cut today. It's really about what Jerome Powell is going to say in that meeting after the fact. That's going to get us to have a better understanding of how they anticipate rate cuts going, if they're going to do it later, if they're going to hike rates. If they say anything about hiking rates, you're going to see this market sell off hard and fast. I don't know if it's just going to whip around a bunch. We're going to have to let it settle That meeting is 2 o'clock Central. Well, 1 o'clock Central. I'm sorry, 2 o'clock Eastern time. I may be on for it. I may hop on just to see the price action, depending on if I'm able to get back here in time or not. But right now, we're just gonna be very, very patient with the day. Gonna try and make hopefully one good trade for the day, and that's it. Waiting for this number to come out in 1 minute and see what happens to our price action. I'm not going to watch any of the other names because there's not really any need for it right now. All this price action is going to do is chop around and be slow and manipulative to try and just... You're going to be playing with algos right now. Like if you expect a full follow through, or if you're expecting it to be range bound and they just sell it off on you, they could do that too. So after that number, PMI was at 46, consensus was 48, previously was 47.2. So that is negative, but positive for the rate cuts. Because that's decreasing. It averages 54.66 points up until now, reaching an all-time high of 81 points in November of 1973 and a record low of 20.7 points in June of 1980. So, really, the performance of the manufacturing and non-manufacturing sector in the Chicago region, 5 different raw weighted indexes, is kind of contracting a little bit, so it's interesting. Very, very interesting. Trying to figure out what I've got going on here. Nothing to do here. If you got any comments, concerns, questions, or anything like that, don't be afraid to chat it up in Tradecaster and in YouTube. If you're in YouTube and you're not trading yet today and you want something to distract you, head over to tradecaster.com. The link is in the bio there and in the chat. So you can go over, check out Tradecaster, sign up for a 7-day free trial. My stream is going to be free for you no matter what and for the foreseeable future. So it's no harm, no foul. Sign up for that free trial. If it expires, it expires. If you like the value that it provides you, you could always make up for the payments in one good trade with some guidance from myself and some others over there at Tradecaster. So we have a ton of really good traders. We have a lot of new traders today we're going to have a meeting tonight to how to even make everything better, a better experience for everybody. So don't be afraid. Go over to tradecaster.com. Check it out. Link is over there. If you're not familiar with it, we talk about it pretty much daily. It's a trading, streaming platform for traders, by traders. If you think like Twitch for gaming, it's just like that. But it's you can find a bunch of traders. You're not searching through YouTube for these people. You're not getting a bunch of fake gurus out here trying to sell you courses. It's just everybody streaming live, trying to provide value to other traders, all right, and make a community out of it. So right now we are still pushing to the downside a bit. S&Ps still selling. We're at S&Ps over here. I'm actually gonna draw another zone up in this guy. There's this area here. Alrighty. We are getting a bounce here. There's the divergence between the NASDAQ and the S&Ps once again. S&Ps is pushing to the downside, and the NASDAQ is holding up a bit stronger today. Yesterday was a little bit opposite. S&Ps was holding up while NASDAQ was rolling over. So we got to just be mindful that they have been diverging over the past few days. I mean, eventually everything kind of came out in the wash, and they both sold off at the end of the day. But just be mindful of that. Check out the divergences. You can see the difference between the two. We have re-entered the opening range. So, like I said, we haven't gotten to either extreme of the overnight session. Nothing to fade. Nothing to really use as levels aside from really like kind of right where we're at right now is not that it's a key level, but you could see that it acted as resistance. We broke through, acted as support. Then we finally broke through again just on this open. So if we just have this level to be mindful of, it is dead center of the range from the overnight. And like I said, with a Fed day and how I traded yesterday, I'm not going to just play with a level that's right in the middle of a range, dead center of the opening range, dead center of the overnight range. So, we're not in any sort of sense of the way of my strategy, with the way it works, not being able to make that kind of trade off of a level right here yet. I mean, maybe later on in the day, if that's going to become a super important level within market hours, then yeah, maybe we'll start to mess with it. But realistically, until then, it's not important for me. I mean, like it's showing that it's a good resistance level again. S&Ps are selling off some more, so just see that and be mindful. You have Delta pushing up right now. I don't have any trade ideas as far as this spot is concerned. We do have our levels here on our longer term, right? We're in the middle of this large run up. So even if you went and decided to be like, all right, this is the run from here to here, just like generally speaking, that's the high end to the low end to the high end of that. We're sitting right at the 38.2 fib retracement of that big full move there. I don't use these a ton, but realistically, if it does chop a bit above that level, then you can see maybe once it does finally break that 38, you look to come down at least at 61.8, and then even beyond once you get an actual good breakout move of that. But the 50% is pretty close too, so we got 20 points there that you can work with. Just thinking in terms of retracements of a giant move like that with no further information, right? These were all-time highs. We created new all-time highs, but we had this straight up rally with light liquidity there, right? There wasn't a ton of orders being exchanged back and forth. There wasn't chop like there is here and here. This was a straight up move. Buyers came in and just continued to buy up. Sellers were just like afraid to get run over by a train, it must have seemed, and didn't get involved, right? So we're holding below this zone here, looking to possibly rotate back to this zone. With the Fed meeting, we could just kind of hang here all day. It could just do what it did 2 days ago. For the entire morning session, we stayed right here, until we broke out come 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 11, 12, 1. So really I have very little movement. Nothing going on with this. today's going to be a really slow day. I'm going to stay on just to kind of go through some stuff, understanding different points of view from these trades. We are flat. We have no trades on. We do not want to just throw in an order just to throw in an order just to trade, especially after yesterday. I mean, I've had 2 really bad days that have really just kind of skewed my overall trading. But I think the last month I've traded really well. Sometimes you just fall into a trap and you do some silly things on a couple of days of the week, and that'll kind of ruin your account, right? So that's the thought behind good money management, having a good set stop loss, like I'm done trading for the day rule. We need to have things like that in place so we can stop ourselves from over trading and getting into that FOMO mindset, or I can make this back, I can make this back. There's no need for it, because like Monday, and I was up 345. I did a good job. I managed my wins. I didn't give anything back. And then come Tuesday, you go down a couple hundred, and then you get back even. And then instead of get close to even, you say I got one more trade in me, and you get chopped up, right? And then that's when you end up drawing down all the way, couple over $1,000. So you really want to try and limit those kinds of days. If you're only going to take that $300-$700 win, you don't want to take any days where you're losing over 1,000. Last week we lost 2,000. So we have to be mindful. We have a lot of upside potential with our strategy, where we can maximize one of these wins to make up for some of those losing days. But we really have to be careful when we are in drawdown and start to grind our way out of it, make good executions, and go from there. And like I said, from the beginning of the year, I've only had 2 real losing days, and those 2 losing days have been bad losers that kind of ruined that account a bit. We're drawn down now a bit on that one, and on this one's a brand new funded account. Yesterday we decided it was of course the first day on it, and we drew down on that as well. So we're going to build out. We're going to show how we can make good executions, better decisions on the next day. We still want to be aggressive, but also, like I said, with this FOMC meeting today, the rate cut not happening at 2 o'clock and 1 o'clock Central Time. Looking to make this good decision, maybe 1 or 2 trades before the end of the trading session here at 11 o'clock, but nothing else. We're not going to, if we have one winner or loser, we're not looking to take an outside loss back-to-back days. So we have to have an A-plus type setup to even think about getting involved and getting any executions today. Once this Fed meeting is over, and we're going to start to look forward to March, we start to get some normal price action back involved. Thursday, we do have the earnings for Apple. Thursday is Apple, Amazon, and Meta. Yesterday was AMD, Microsoft, and Alphabet. So if you take a look at these charts, we'll look at them side by side. Microsoft had a nice spike early today. They beat earnings on pretty much everything. I didn't read their guidance. I don't know how they ended up guiding, but you can see here they beat by 5.7% and 1.44% on their revenues. So that seems to be good, right? But you get a huge whippy action and a sell-off after, it's like a buy the rumor, sell the news. There must have been some sort of forward guidance that was not ideal. What else we had? We had AMD. AMD did not beat, and you can see that kind of huge sell-off there. Their earnings was down from the estimates, so they were expecting 0.774. They got 0.77. That tiny bit of a miss sells us off. Their revenues did beat by just a touch, right? You can see how price reacts to some of these earnings. Huge chop, huge move. So if you are a equities trader who does trade earnings plays, this is the kind of action you can expect on those kind of moves. And Google also beat on both and sold off hard, right? So what is driving that? Okay, it's either a forward guidance that's bad, but there's no way that they read that whole press release and listened to the call that quickly to make that kind of decision on a good earnings beat, right? So the algos were ready in play, and they were saying, no matter what this number is, we are selling this. So, that's why it's so hard to play earnings, because good news could be bad news and sell off, and good earnings is just proving to them that they're going to sell it. It doesn't make any sense to why it would sell, right? If you think, hey, earnings good, we beat on both, we expect to be making a bunch of money, and the stock price sells off. That's just pure algo driven, but you got to be mindful of those things, right? So you can see Microsoft sold, Microsoft sold off, AMD sold off, and Google. And then today we kind of got some bouncy action. If you're looking at Apple has been selling off, right? Since yesterday, rolled over, or even 2 days ago, we've been selling, pretty much nonstop on Apple. Come Thursday, you get your earnings. Is this push down of just positioning for the algos to rip it up? That could be, no matter what the earnings are. That's just something that you got to be mindful of and watch every earnings season to kind of see what type of action you're going to get in those things. And then obviously we look at these because it is important for our NASDAQ, right? Because the Apples, the Microsofts, the Googles, the Nvidias, all those, did Nvidia sell off because of AMD? Yes, it did. So AMD and Microsoft and Nvidia are kind of working together here as far as being chip sector stocks. So you're going to see that sell off. Still just sitting here flat right at the bottom end of the opening range. Nothing doing yet. Still got plenty of time left in the day, but you're not getting any good price action that's going to get you limited downside risk and any sort of upside potential. So if you are going to be entering and stuff at this point of the day, we just hit 9 o'clock. Like I said, you got to wait for some extremes on these charts. You want to clean up the overnight low, clean up that overnight high, even though that's really not quite the overnight high. It is the overnight. This is the post-market session here. We closed here, so reasonably 15.15, 570. That's like the high of aftermarket hours, right? So I use the reopen high as the overnight high for myself, depending on how tight the price action is. Just whatever level I seem as significant. So all these levels got disappeared from the platform when I closed it out and moved around some things. So just I redrew some of these lines, some of these levels, price lines, price points that I like. The S&Ps, I redrew some. They already, like, these stayed on my 30-minute charts. They stayed on. So I have my 30-minute stuff still up here. I'm going to put this on here. We're really nothing doing on the 30-minute chart here. Like I said, right in the middle of that range. S&Ps is more pushed down. We are, it's the S&P 500, so it's a bigger basket. Maybe more broadly that stocks are pushing down than the tech sector, holding up a little bit. But just be mindful of that zone there at 910, anywhere between here, 910 to 912. We're going to be back in here, just kind of watching this little channel that we got going on. I'm tempted to take something here long if it does break above this level, but I don't want to because I'm not at a level that I really want to play. Oh, that's another reason. We got a Top Step hat on. Maybe we're going to go back to the headband days. It's not superstitious if it works, right? The headband days have been good days. I'm going to stick with them. you do have this area right here that held up, flushed, then held up. Now, right now, we have tested it twice. We've got a little bit of a divergence, right? We got the higher low here. You got a wick test. You're trying to push highs, but the delta's not playing along, right? So if you are going to break through this with any sort of push, you want to see this delta also push through and start to go into the green side. We are right dead center, middle of the opening range, middle of the overnight high and overnight low. We do not have much going on in this. Let's see what we got going on. I don't trade oil, but that might give me some sort of thing to trade today. I don't have like a great relationship with oil. They do have their number release at 9:30. So this will move at 9:30, even more. Just kind of bouncing off the value area low. The previous session's value area that we would be interested in is the points of control from the 23rd and 22nd and 23rd. That 17,468 level, right? Kind of where price exactly stopped at close and then gapped to and then retested. It's a good number to be mindful of as well. It's right up here. Any questions, comments, or concerns from anybody watching? Because it's a slow, boring morning for me. I don't have any trades on. I think the NASDAQ is holding up a bit better than the S&Ps because the S&Ps haven't done very much of anything. I mean, the NASDAQ, the S&Ps have rolled and continue to push to the downside. So, yeah, maybe if you do get a crack at this level here, you could see this rotate down to the overnight lows to catch up. You know, get a breakdown of here. You could flush down to that overnight low. Just playing this as a pure follow of the S&Ps. And, you know, price just kind of continuing to pick this downside trajectory. You're going to get a breakdown of a significant level. You'll break the higher high, higher low. You'll break this little trend line there. You are working down to the bottom end of this wedge as well, so you can really have that confluence as to be a reason for this to be a short. Using this opening range as the resistance there. If you want to just take one shot at it here, maybe that could be your trade for today. If I might take it just to show that what kind of opportunity that could be if it does crack that level there. Just to be mindful that it could bounce just like it did here after that wick test. Wick test. 360, 325 level is kind of important. But if you get in here, you risk above that level there, because if it reaccepts into the opening range, you may rotate back to the high end of the opening range, kind of like how it is right now, right? So, you know, you're getting a little bit of a pop off of it. If you did play the breakdown here of this to rotate to the downside, you kind of want to see it even further down at this point of the wedge, right? To get a rotation down to the overnight low. Purely based on the ES pushing down, but now the ES is looking like it wants to bounce, right? Now we're pushing back to the high end. I really want to get into this area here for any sort of short That's my idea there, right? Because look at that sell off at 3. Boom. We came through it, used it as resistance, sold off from it, sold off from it. So if we can get back to it, I would like to sell off again. It is a little bit of a wider zone, so I would like it to enter into that 450 area, right where it wicked earlier. Around, what is that, 7:30? Yeah, so usually 7:30 it starts the ignition to the sell side. Look to see if this thing can rotate up. Get into this zone here, pre-Fed release, and then we can rotate back down through the lows and beyond, potentially. So any sort of pop of this could give you some sort of relief rally a little bit to just get some buying involved. You don't have to make a trade. Like we learned yesterday, you don't have to trade, because when you feel like you have to, you start to make stupid mistakes, stupid decisions. This is winding up and setting up for that breakdown. If that's the kind of play that you like to do, then I don't see like a bad reason why to not take this trade. You are not making new highs on Delta. You're trying to crack the lows here. If you do crack 63, you should get like a hard move to the downside. So and then you can limit your risk above that high there. So take a shot at it. See if you can rotate it down to that overnight low, clean that up. That's the bottom end of the channel as well, right? So you're getting a little bit of a wick there. You got, if you did take that entry, that's where you're in right now. So if you're risking to the opening range low, you are risking 200 on that with one contract. That depends on how many contracts you got going. If this is going to be a true breakdown, it will do it pretty quickly. You'll get a breakdown of that 58 right here, and then look to get right to the bottom of this level here once you crack that. So there's that pushing right down. Currently, if you were in this trade, you're looking at being up like a 1-to-1, being patient with it, seeing if it's going to hold this low. Probably just based on pure price action levels, the way it did flush that, it seems like it's a true sell here. Should be able to rotate down to overnight lows. I will watch overnight lows to be my idea entry for a long. But you could end up running into some resistance right here. Right there. So just be mindful of that little zone beforehand. There's that flush down. So that was an excellent entry. If you did take that trade, you could have secured, 250. You would have been up 250 already. Could be able to get into this zone here and beyond, down to the overnight low, to push down to the bottom of the channel. Once I'm up that kind of move there, maybe looking to get to break even, because you did flush the bottom end of the value area from the session so far. So you're secured, you're at break even right now. Everything here is free money, so it just all depends on how you want to secure your profits on a trade like this. I'm glad we were able to see it kind of play out. I was going to take the trade, but after yesterday, I decided that I'm only going to take my true strategy of fading extremes here. So I'm looking to see that overnight low get tagged, and then what kind of price action happens down there once we get there, to try and play any sort of bounce off of it and rotate back to the high side, just for the idea of a range bound day prior to the Fed meeting. Yeah, so just be mindful of that. We do have all the way down to 253.75 in that zone too. So if we do flush that overnight low, 253.75, that is the bottom end of that run up from Friday, right? So you do have to be careful. If it does flush it, I'm going to wait to see what kind of reaction it has here, because I don't want this to roll over on me, and I don't want to get run over by a freight train, right? So that was an excellent call there. I would like to notate that trade out that I mentioned here in the group. That was an excellent entry and perfect target, because you would have tagged the overnight low to the tick. So that would have been $580 per contract that you would have taken. So really, really happy with the way that one played out there. I didn't take the trade, unfortunately. Like today is a kind of a rebound day for me. Be patient. Look for, now we're at the overnight lows. I'm looking to see if I could flush it, get some sort of price action here that's going to show me that's going to take a turn from that overnight low and rotate all the way to overnight highs. That's really what I want to see on that kind of move prior to the fit, or get into the spot where I wanted to short, right? Somewhere up in there. If I can get that, then I would be very happy, but I can't take it on a tick bottom reversion kind of deals because we're now below this little zone here. So it could come in here, retest, and then continue to rotate to the downside all the way until the Fed's meeting. Oh, man. So, but I'm glad. I mean, like I said, once you get this breakdown here, pure price technicals, you're getting the flush of this zone here where we had it prior and then ran right to that level there. Your targets were going to be this red line right here, which came to a tick and hit it, right? So, I would have front run it by a point. So you would have definitely got filled on that. So really your entry is anywhere below 360, 325. And your target would have been right there. So like I said, $575 per contract on that trade. Very nice. Now with this kind of move off of here, obviously that seemed like what everybody else was thinking. That's the bounce. I was looking to get long off my low here, so I didn't take that. We are waiting for a plus type divergence setup, right? So now if this comes up in here, holds this zone a bit, or even comes back down, tries to wick test the bottom of the overnight low, then returns back high side, we don't get the good delta push down, then that's when I'm going to look to possibly take this as a rotation off of the low and back to highs. So that's my thought process on why I didn't take this immediate bounce off of my level. This is more not quite an A plus setup. V bottoms are impossible for me to trade, and if you're just like a pure levels trader where you set an entry, good for you, because I can't do it because my stops are too tight. I don't want to get run over on the way down. Long bias, it's all 50-50 right now, so just continue to push down. You see that the delta is way up here. Price is trying to push down hard right to the bottom end of this little zone here. So potentially, if we do get back down here and don't come close to new lows on the delta, then that's our indication that the overnight low should hold, even if it is a few points to the downside, maybe the 20s. Anything returning back up through the overnight lows, look to take long to the other side of this. So I'm looking to see maybe we can get this thing here. I want to take the right shot at it. I don't want to take an early shot because my early shots yesterday got me in trouble. Look to take this bounce. But like I said, you got to be mindful of this whole area here, right? This big run up, we're in the middle of it. So, if we do flush the bottom, we don't have anything holding us up until 253. So you got to bounce there. That could have been an entry. Just didn't quite get down far enough for me to be convinced yet. Because the delta pushing up and the price pushing up is nice for that follow through to the long side, but I'm still not convinced totally. I want this thing to play out a little bit more. Let's see what it looks like on the 5-minute. Right, you got this perfect V bottom here. I don't like, but it did happen here, and it worked out. That's where that overnight low was created, but you got more of a wicky action there, a wick below the previous low, and then you rotated back down. This didn't really quite wick that previous low, so that V bottom type action doesn't validate for me. I want to see more of that. I want to see another, harder push to break this red line here and then return back. Limit my risk at the very bottom, because then if it makes new lows, then you're out, right? This is where we were patient. We're trying to get a little bit more patient. We're not trying to do what we did so we are getting that push down. Delta was very extended here. It made the new low, so it was the correct confluence for this to follow through to get a really good move here. That trade was very, very good. Hopefully somebody was able to catch it, or at least see the reasoning behind why we would have taken this. I didn't take it because, like I said, I'm waiting for my type of A+ strategy to get involved. Excuse me, to get involved in a long from the bottom for my extended range type trades. After yesterday, I chopped myself up, so I'm really looking to get one good trade off today. So I didn't want to take this fake breakout, but this is what we're looking at. Like I said, we were looking at this zone here to be a short, but we wanted to return back to it during market hours. We ticked it on the open and then rotated back down. You have down to there. However, I do believe that we could just continue to rotate and stay range bound in this tight of a zone until that Fed meeting. So that's why I would like to look to take this thing to the upside a bit. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to let this thing flush the bottom a little bit. Let's see if I can get a new... Rocking my Futures of Coffee shirt here. Day Trading Coffee Company apparel. I'm going to stand up and give it a little model here. Pretty clever shirt, if I do say so myself, since I didn't design it. I just think it's funny. We are live on Tradecaster. Gonna post it up, get some views here. Get into Tradecaster. Let's see. We're approaching my zone now. Again, pushing down. We have to be mindful of that. Oh, fuck. That true flush though, right? So I gotta be careful. That's a strong push on that delta to the downside. But would need to see that if it cracks this low here, gives us a wick test, it doesn't break down that low. And then we can look to rotate back through the high side here. So if it doesn't crack here with that kind of push, we don't get one more test of it, then the bounce could come from here and rotate higher. But we need to be mindful of it. I'm looking to do a little post here, so give me a second. Tradecaster. There we go. Cool. All right, so now that we're getting closer to our spot here, looking to try and limit our risk to the downside. If it does pop above here, I do want to get involved with a stop below the lows, but I want this to really flush the low a little bit more. Maybe a little higher low here is a good point to play that bounce. 70 ticks. Like I said, I'm only trying to take one good trade here today, so if this is not it, if it gets me involved and flushes me out, then so be it. That'll be it. I will be done for the day on that trade. But I'm looking to take this as a rotation, a failed breakdown, wick test here of this level and not quite the bottom of the day. So if it does make new lows on the day, we'll get stopped out if it triggers us in here. I want to rotate back at least to the session here. But I would really like for us to rotate to the value area high. So we're triggered in long now. We're going to just be patient on this. I'm not going to trail it super, super tight. I want to see this thing play out to the upside a little bit with this delta divergence. We tried to wick the bottom, grab some more, didn't quite make it through that overnight low. We might be a slight bit early on it. That overnight low, if I get stopped on it here, then I'm going to really be very, 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 very selective on seeing if I can get that bounce from there again. But really, this is the area where you get the delta divergence. You're at a liquidity zone here. You wicked it once. Should be able to rotate higher from here. S&Ps are at a liquidity zone as well, so it could catch a bounce from there. We need to see delta to kind of push us up a bit. I do want to let this thing breathe to the overnight low, because if it does flush now, it's going to be a hard breakdown. Whatever this trade does now, it does. We're going to be very hands-off patient with this stop. We're going to want to let this thing rotate. If it stops us out, it stops us out. I did my best on trying to be patient to let this thing, this being the wick test here. I wanted to see it kind of get me a divergence, and we got it here. We tried to make new lows. The price didn't push down. Delta didn't push down, so we should get a little bit of a rotation back to the high side. If we can get at least up into that opening range low, that'd be beautiful. Can we secure a break-even trade there, and then see if we can continue to rotate to that value area high? I like to fade these up to VWAP. So if this is my entry that I usually get, then it could bounce here and rotate back to VWAP, and then it may react there. If it's not my trade, it's going to roll us over and run us over, and then we're going to really look to see if it gets all the way down to this level here to bounce. Like I said, I'm only going to take one or two trades for the day, especially Fed day. It should be a more balanced, rangy type day until the Feds actually come out and make their release in their statement. So that's why I'm taking this one. I'm taking it as one shot for the rotation off the low from the overnight session. That's purely based off of levels, and we're trying to be working our strategy. Like I said, sometimes trades don't work out, sometimes they do, but just working this zone here now. Not quite making it to the overnight low. The short was a really great play. I called that one out there. Could have capitalized on that, but I was looking to do more of what we're doing here as far as the delta divergence. It's not playing along. Actually, delta's looking like it wants to continue us to the downside. So if this doesn't rotate here, I might just bang out of this trade. Like I said, I was trying to be patient, but the delta's now playing along. It's trying to make new lows as prices approaching new lows. So we are getting new sellers involved at this level. I'm trying to limit my downside risk, but we're at value area low. Price is speeding up. Delta's breaking new lows. Price didn't make new lows, so maybe we get that as the pop. Nope, we're out flat. See, you can see that as Delta starts to get congruent, you're going to start to see price do what it wants. But really, that's what we were looking for, but we didn't want to see Delta break the low, so that would have been an invalidated setup anyway. This is where it was validated to try and take the long off of, so I'm not mad at that being the entry. We did take a little bit bigger of a loss than we wanted to because we were trying to be patient with it, but now we're going to look to see maybe one more good trade, but that's it. We're not going to force in anything like we did yesterday. You can see this thing pushing right down to the bottom end of this little channel that we're in. Really, this is the kind of move that I was looking for. I wanted to see this thing wick off the bottom. It's really more of a congruent move now. So like I said, there's nothing holding us up down to 253. So if you are short from this breakdown here, you're still valid because Delta did push through. You got a strong push to the downside there. Nothing to the left to hold you up. So this flush here could just continue to roll you over all the way down to this level here. It's really, I didn't have anything there for it to hold us up, right? So this is just more, this was my attempt at trying to fade the extreme of the day, the overnight session, not waiting for the flush that I was really looking for, because you kind of got that setup where you were high or low. Delta wasn't making anywhere near new lows, and then we pushed up. We got ticked in and whipped out. So not going to overtrade it, not going to look to revenge it. We're going to just look for the next good setup. If it does kind of rotate back through here, hold this overnight low and rotate back up, then we'll look to see if that same entry will get us a better look at it, right? Because you don't want to miss that there. Like, you're not going to revenge it down here. You could limit your risk, but at the same time, it could just tick it here and rotate you back down, continuing, just because you do have that, like I said, that delta divergence didn't come through. Everything played in unison. Once I saw that price was breaking here and the delta was playing along, I should just cut bait and got out there. But once you enter a trade, it's so hard to change your mind mid trade and make adjustments there. So I was trying to be strong in the sense that I was attempting a different kind of strategy with a little bit of breathability, but at the same time, it's probably not a great idea with the heaviness that's going on right now. Shorts on the micros are about 60% short, so nothing like heavy tilty, so could just continue to roll over. Just another down 4, right? 4. We're going to add that there. We're not flat. We are down 4. Just a tough couple days here so far. Hey, buddy. What are you doing? Oh, you got that around your legs, huh? Hey. Thanks for the hug, buddy.
Oh, look at penguin.
The little penguin. You're good. There's not a lot on anyway.
No water on it? Are you good? No?
No. One trade. One loss. We're just waiting. Being patient at this point now. Seeing what happens with this flush. See at this now, everything's still pushing to the downside. Everything's heavy. I don't know what's going on in my throat. No resistance anywhere in sight, all the way down to 253.75. Volume is picking up. You can see this thing. Look at this. Look at this volume. Just pure pushing up. You're getting a wick test here, because there really was nothing down in the middle of this zone to tell you, hey, this is a good spot to be long. So maybe some people are just looking to go long at a certain fib number or something like that. We talked about that fib earlier from that run up. Right, from here to here, we were looking at that fib as being the 30. We're down to like the 61. Nope. Oh, I didn't click it. There we go. Right down to the 61.8. So maybe people are taking the buy off of the 61.8 there, but really, I don't, just profit taking or something, because there's no resistance here at all. Delete that. Everything is selling, so. My short bias right here, that entry was your best play. If you were able to hold it and continue through the overnight low, like I said, we needed to be careful if it did crack it, because that's the kind of price action that is anticipated if you hold it. It's amazing that the strategy plays pretty much all the time, and then the days that I try to be a little more cautious with let it happen, I front run it just a touch and get literally to the tick and then rotate it over. So just just happens sometimes. You take losses. That's how this game goes. If we do fail this breakdown and rotate above our entry from before, that, like I said, could be the indication that we are back to the other side of it. But until then, this is still just very heavy. I don't have a voice. It's gone. There we go. The rotation down through here just is very heavy. The way the market's pushing down is that it's expecting when Powell says anything that it's going to pop, right? It's pushing down to lows to clean up some of these all-time highs right before the meeting starts, and then it wants to do probably some more pop off. The S&Ps did break down from some significant trend line here that was holding up for the most part until yesterday. Rotated through it today, and now it's falling over. So it led us to the downside a bit today. The NASDAQ was holding up a lot better, like we were mentioning, and then once the ES kind of cracked down and we broke through this spot here, that continuation has played out. I'm not going to play anything bouncy until we get down to that 250 something level. Or if we rotate through back up to the high here, this is not necessary anymore. This might be done as well. I could have tipped this trade here. Obviously, hindsight being 2020. Talking it out, telling people to take it, everything about it was pretty much primed for the short here. If it did crack this level, we would have taken it out at 565. If you're continuing your short bias, you crack that overnight low, you're going to get this continuation all the way down to this zone here, and we've got nothing that's holding us up. So realistically, like I said, that move there was anticipated. Everything about it was talked up beforehand. The only thing I did was try to fade and use my strategy where I used the overnight levels as bounce points. It wasn't patient enough because I did see pretty much everything that I needed to see for the divergence to rotate at least up into these areas here again. We've just been too heavy today, so everything has been selling off pretty early. It's very directional. We do have, like I said, the 30-minute. You could shows it right here. No resistance all the way down until you get to right here at that level. That's where I'll start to look to see if it may bounce. If not, it could even continue to rotate down into that 168 level. We do have that as a zone here. We broke these previous all-time highs over here and continue to rip. So yes, there is resistance right there at that zone. However, you still could rotate all the way back down to the bottom of that value area and into that previous all-time high. So trying to catch a falling knife on a day like today is probably a bad idea. Understanding the dynamics of it. I forgot to switch the screen over. Sorry about that. So what I did show is this here. We have this zone as that first line in the sand, but if you do flush that and continue down, like I said, we do have all the way down to that 130, 168 level. I don't know. Nobody knows why the price is doing what it's doing. So, it was rallying all to these all-time highs from that previous Friday. Just really, there was no reason for it to be up there. So once it got up there and people took whatever they needed to take from it, it rotated back down, and it's just been rotating to the downside since. Right leading into that meeting, we got a lot of good earnings yesterday. Good news was bad news. price rolled over on a lot of those names. So that's also carrying us to the downside. Buy the rumor, sell the news type deal. You're getting this now to rotate back down. I want to see this all the way down to that 53.75. That's the next target. But we could bounce from anywhere, so. We're here at 9:41. Not like I said, it's a Fed day. We didn't try to force in anything. We did take one loss here, trying to catch the bounce. Realistically, did not catch it. I wanted to risk to the bottom of the day. We got ticked in and rotated right back down through. So we took that loss through the bottom end of the day. So like I said, I was trying to take one or two trades. Now, if I am going to look for another long, it's going to be down here at that 53 level. Or if we clean up this entire sell side move here and stop people out above where we originally entered, then potentially that would be another long idea up here. However, right here now we're in the middle of another range between two zones that I find pretty significant. My thought process, again, like I said, I've kind of just been a little bit off the mark the last 2 days. As far as execution is concerned, because realistically what we were looking for is if it holds below this zone here, rotate back to this bottom end. I didn't take the short at the open because I wasn't convinced that it wasn't going to clean up these highs first, and we just continued to sell straight from the bottom end of that zone, right? You opened up and you pushed to the high side and never quite made it to this overnight high over here, the green overnight high. I wanted to get into this yellow box before I shorted. We never got there, and we just have been short for the rest of the day. But that was the thesis for the day if it was going to play out that way, and we did not execute correctly. We tried to play the bounce off the overnight low to rotate to the highs, so that's where we are now waiting and staying at. We're going to look to see what we can do here as far as this goes. If we can get down into that 53 or the top end of this this liquidity zone here that I have drawn up, or somewhere in there, reject that zone, right? It's not anything that's super recent. It's all the way back here on the 19th where this is, right? So realistically, January was a really good month for me trading wise, except for my actual P&L being at the moment just red. I executed my plan pretty much every day but 2, and that really killed me. So overall, on the grand scheme of January, I was happy on a day-to-day basis on what I was doing, and I'm not proud of being negative on the month, on that account. I'm not even trading that account today because it's drawn down pretty far after 2 really crappy days. So just pure transparency. This is what it looks like, right? When you're doing well, for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days in a row, you do all right. You have one break even day. Then you get FOMO and you break down. Then you start to build back up. And then yesterday, same kind of deal. It's really hard to avoid days like this for me because I just didn't walk away at the time when I should have. Like I said, 11 o'clock is the end of my stream. Been trying to grind back more. I got kind of click happy and that rotates us down, right? This is our max loss limit, so we need to stay above that 1901, or else that account gets blown. But you can see 73 days, 73% winning days. If it's not, our best days, 693, we were 7 something, but with fees and stuff. And then, we were at a high of profit at about 1,000, currently sitting right here. Our worst day should never be this high. You should never have a day that's max loss. That's just not something I want to do moving forward. Anything where I get even half, I'm going to start to just be done. Probably even less. I got to write it into the rules and start sticking to those rules. Average winning day, 245. So, we had enough days to get a payout, but we blew that idea yesterday and the day before. Last week, same time. So, statistically speaking, we were very, very consistent. It's just these 2 outsized days that you just get screwed over, right? You kind of lose yourself. You get that FOMO, and, my 67% winning trades, average winning trades are a little bit smaller than losing, but really those are compounded into 2 days of those losers happening, right? If you just see that coming into play, get out, stop trading, learn from my mistakes so you don't have to do it. And then but like I said, realistically, all January, all the way through up until last Wednesday, we had a really good month. Then we built up all the way up until yesterday, and we killed it 2 days. So overall, the trading was very good for the entire month. I'm not completely disappointed, but I am a little annoyed, and today is like a bounce back day, trying to rebound emotionally and mentally, and really trying to stick to a plan. We took our shot at it there, didn't get what we wanted out of it, but it wasn't something that we were just forcing in. We had a plan. We said we're going to wait for this low to get tested, get a divergence, which we did, and take a long to try and rotate to the high based on it being a range bound type day. Unfortunately, right, it was a liquidity grab from the high to rotate us back down to next zone. So, the zones are there, the analysis there, the execution over a couple of days is kind of poor. We're not trying to take outsized losses on trades, but this was really more of a trying to be a one shot at a day kind of deal and let it play out. So if we do take one more trade, it's going to have to be either down here or at the same location to push, continue to push to the upside. Can't be, that would be a reacceptance into that range to really rotate us back up to the high side if it does crack this, because that would stop a bunch of people out. You'd at least get a little bit of a move in your direction to kind of secure a little bit of profit if it is going to just use that as liquidity to continue us to rotate down. So our 2 spots are long off the bottom here and long through here. If you get back to overnight lows and you reject, fail, and then you continue to roll over, it is a trending down type day. And if you haven't cleaned up this bottom end here, then you could look to rotate that to the short side. So anything where we come back to this area and we reject and we fail to hold above that 33 level, look to short that. Anything where we break above that 350 and hold, look to go long, and then take the longs off of 253.75, that area. So that's where I'm looking at. Those are the few scenarios that I'm looking for. Got to be a little patient. Let these things set up. Trying to just talk out these trades. Be mindful that it is a Fed day, so as the day progresses, you're going to get less and less volume until that 1 o'clock hour is when things are going to start to blow up. You're going to get the press conference afterwards. That's really going to create some volatility. And then after all the dust settles, then probably overnight tonight, you're going to get some movement in the market. That's actually going to be a true gauge of which way it wants to go until the next meeting. And depending on what Powell says about further cutting rates later on, that's what we're going to wait and see. But maybe the market knows something that we don't already and is trying to sell off for that good news of, hey, yeah, we're looking to cut. Because as markets push down, then that's showing some weakness per se, that that's what they're looking for to cut these rates. Delta is flattening out, starting to push up higher. Price tried to push lower, didn't quite make it there. So you could run into some resistance here at the 300 level. You can see there's a higher volume node here at this point. Price has been building here. Do I trust a full bounce from here? No, because I'm in the middle of a range, because price, I believe, still wants to kind of clean up that run up to the high from that previous Friday. It doesn't have to do anything, but realistically, you're going to get this thing to break right here, looking to break down and then flush the lows further to get to there. If it holds and continues up, then maybe then you're looking to see this thing rotate. But you have to be mindful, if we didn't make it all the way down here for the long, this push up could still be a short setup, just based on pure momentum on the day. If anybody's in any sort of trade, hopefully they're in a short from the high. That would be the best bet. I did call out this short right here for anybody who was listening or possibly was looking to take it. Unfortunately, I did not. That was a beautiful move there, right? From level to level, that I was to the tick on each move there. We unfortunately did not take that, and we were looking for our extremes break rotation to the high side. Did not get that either, so missed out on that trade because I was trying to be more selective on our actual good A plus type setup. Got every factor of the setup except for a wick of the low, and we took the entry above the high because it was a zone here, and shit happens. Right now you're going to get this to push through this low. And like I said, we're not doing anything until we get down to this area here. It doesn't have to get exactly to the yellow zone, but somewhere near here between 53, 75, and even above that, maybe possibly, because that was the breakout point. So 50, 56. Just be mindful of that. But really, I'm not looking to take anything short in the middle of a zone. Middle of a, between an area between two zones. Yeah, it's got to get down here somewhere. I think that short from here, like I said, the initial target's there. If you were aggressive and you looked to see that this thing was going to flush that overnight low, you could have held it even for, but realistically, you don't. Once you're up 5 on per contract, you don't want to give back that whole thing unless you have that sort of setup where you're risking to that high. Then you have that where you're a little bit more spaced out, looking to catch this move to the downside. But I'd said we had to be mindful if it did crack this low here that it was going to rotate down to 53, at least that area, because there's nothing in between from that run up. So once you get into this area where we did have no orders, it should, in theory, continue to rotate back down, find some liquidity at an area where it was liquid before, and then that's where you're looking for your bounce. Not necessarily sure if you're going to get a full continuation even through that 53, because down through 53 you have down to 170, 168. Yeah, like right here. you can see Delta buyers were starting to kick in here, and you're not making the new lows. So, but there's that push. There's a pretty big seller here right at the breakdown point at that 97 level. So just be mindful of that as well. If it doesn't sell through here with that kind of selling pressure, this might look to be where it's getting a little exhausted. I do think we still have some more room to the downside on this if you are patient enough to hold. I do believe that the next push down should be that last push.
I think I'm poopy.
Oh yeah, go ahead. No, you're good. Leave it. It's fine. Very, very, very patient, especially after that loss there. I'm not trying to FOMO, and like I said, I'm very happy with my month of January. My profits don't show that. I just showed my little P&L curve. If you go back into the screen, you'll be able to see it. I mean, if you rewind in the stream, I should say, you'll be able to see what I was showing of where I was at, where I should be still at. But some days you suck and you blow up a little bit, and we don't want to let those 2 days mess up what we're doing here. I don't want to do that ever again, but those days are going to happen here and there. I just need to have those days when I'm already up a ton of money on the year, right? So we got away from what we were trying to do, right? I was trying to grow this account slow, trying to do it all appropriately, and then you start to get that FOMO kick in, and 2 days can ruin your entire month. But other than that, I'm very, very pleased with the way I've executed throughout the month. Even right here, I talked out why I didn't take this one and why I was looking to take this one. Yes, it ended up being the opposite, where this was appropriate, right? If I was really, in theory, looking to make this trade, right, should take this because I'm looking for this to be the bounce spot, right? And if I take this, I can just cut it, and then I can look to get my actual bounce. I would have been able to secure a little bit of my profits on the downside, right? So even same thing here. We're not quite breaking to the highs, but if I can take the low here and take the short to where I do want to enter, then that's potentially something that I want to do. But realistically, right now, after missing on that, I don't want to take that right now just because it's not my type of trade. But really, you could take that breakdown again to the level, and then once you arrive at that level, take your profits and look for your setup to go the opposite direction. It's not flip-flopping. It's just utilizing your grand picture to make new moves, right? So, yeah, like I said, I'm happy with the way I traded all of January. I was on here every day. My goal was to be on stream every day that I was possibly able to be on, and so we've been on every day. We've talked through every trade. We've developed a good relationship with some people here. We've really started to, extrapolate on our strategy. Like I said, we executed pretty well on hard days, and then on just 1 or 2 days, really kind of hurt us pretty good. So overall, like I said, P&L down on the month of January, but there's still 11 months left in the year that we can look to capitalize off of and start to build these accounts back up again, and just go 1 day at a time, one trade at a time, and look for our setups that we're looking to take, right? So this failed breakdown here, didn't make new lows. Delta's still kind of trying to push up. So that 300 level is going to be pretty important. Just be mindful of it. It is a key psychological number. We are at the bottom end of this VWAP. We've been riding it down. This is the standard deviation away, right? One standard deviation from VWAP there. So we've been riding this down. So could be just a little bit of a profit taking, but you are getting a pretty decent pop in your Delta to take that, right? So a good reason not to take that short there. Keep us out of that trade. But in theory, that's I was talking theoretically in that sense of where you could do X, Y, or Z. looking to get it to your spot. Because if you take the actual appropriate entry, right, you're probably just stopped at break even, and it's a no harm, no foul. If this now continues on to the upside, we're looking at this zone here, right, at the overnight low for another liquidity grab to continue the short. If we get back above this yellow zone and we kind of set ourselves up a little bit, we're going to look to take that long again. So that's where we're at. We had those three things talked out as far as our plan. We wanted to get long down here, short at the overnight low if it rejects, and then long above our original entry. Because if this does fail, then everybody who is short here is probably stopping out and running, right? Because they've been up already. Now they're taking profits on it. Now people are fear. Oh man, I'm gonna get stopped out. Let me get myself to break even, or limit my losses above here, because if their initial stop was up there, you just got to be thinking about how other people are thinking about their trades to think about where price will want to go. Oh, I meant to say yes. Tilt is getting a little long on the tilty side. 62% long on the tilt. That's not heavy tilt for me. That's just like a congruent move. It seems like it's obviously, you can see price is clearly long, so 62% isn't out of the realm of being a correct move, right? Once it starts to get into the 70s and closer to the 80% in a direction, that's when you should start to look for a reversal, right? So if we get up to that 33s and then you get like an 80% long, right? We're at 70% long right now on the NQ. If this thing gets to the 33s and you start to see it, 80 something percent, you get a good wick off here, that could be a good idea to sell off the bottom of that, because that's where you're looking to see, we're at 73% long. So start to see some slowing down of this price action pushed into the high side. So let's see if we get to that 33s, if we stop some people out into this zone here, rotate back down through 33s, that could be your continuation to push to the downside with a little delta divergence and a high tilt, right? You don't want that heavy tilt. Wait for this thing to pop a little bit more, right? I do want this to show me something at those levels. I don't want it to just burn through, and I don't want to get long through here. I want to wait for it to get above our initial entry there, because then that's more of a confirmation that we do want to continue to the high side from these bottoms. However, it needs to hold it. It can't just be a wick test, right? So I'm not going to enter that first break above here. I'm going to wait. If we do reject, or if we get like a good wick test into the yellow zone here, and then we start to rotate down through 33s, I am going to take a short through the 33s based on a heavy tilt to the downside, to the high side, right? Longs are only at 67% actually, so micros are 64%. The tilt has actually gotten less tilty at this level. So if we speed up and get through 33s here, and then the tilt gets up higher, then that's what I'm going to be looking for as far as a short. But we're like we said, we're going to wait and see. Be a little patient here. Now this is going to be garbage. We don't need that. And we're going to give ourselves a little zone right here. That's a good zone there for just the time being, for the day, right? Just something that we're going to be mindful of. Just like these numbers here, we were mindful of this. Overnight was very important, right? Overnight, we created this level. I was talking about not taking it because I was in the middle of a range. I was in the middle of a opening range, in the middle of a overnight range. There was nothing telling me that I needed to short this, except for that it was a good level from the pre-market session. And like I said, I'm trying to be a little more patient on today. Like, I need to be selectively aggressive, especially when you're in drawdown like this. So that's why I'm doing a little bit less. That the idea was short from the yellow zone there, go long off of the overnight low. These are things that do play out. They give me higher probabilities, but today not so much. Fed day. I want to see this thing pop up one more time before we do try to go to short. Looking to just kind of provide some value here on these the thought process, right? We saw price speed kind of slow down there. You got Delta flattening out. Then you start to see Delta start to push up, and price is trying to push back down. Didn't get it. Delta pushes up. Still didn't really get any movement. Once you start to see this thing try to push down, and Delta starts to pop up, right? You're flattening out, but on a higher base. This kind of move here is kind of anticipated, but we were not at an area of any sort of worth, right? We were in the middle of a zone, between two zones. Nothing that you can say, oh, I'm going to take a long here just because Delta, this, that, and the other thing. I need a couple other reasons, right? So now that we're looking at this, right, I wanted to see this thing get back above that overnight low. We want to see one more, rip into this yellow zone maybe, and then a failure again. Then you could look to rotate back down. But you also don't want to see if it does crack to go above what we saw here, right? When we broke down below, we saw a nice push through that ended up stopping us out because of that. But once I saw this thing start to be a consistent Delta push down, I should have just, like I said, I should have cut it off. But I was trying to give this to the bottom. But if we get that kind of Delta push as we break through it to the upside, like you get one of these big green candles down here, it's going to be a sign to be, a little standoffish. Don't enter right away because you're not going to quite get that information that you need if you do get there. Right now, we're kind of just flattening out. Price is pushing down. We haven't quite broke through that low with the Delta, so we still could be pushing back up to the high side here a little bit. If this is where it's going to fail and continue to roll over, so be it. It didn't get to our level again. We were looking to go long off the top end of here. We were looking to go short off of here, and then we were looking to go long on a break and hold above our yellow zone there. So being pretty patient on this. I think that this was some profit taking. I do still feel like we are in a short. We never quite cleaned up the levels down to this here for the Fed meeting at 1 o'clock. We're at 10 a.m. now, 10:08. So London's closed, but we're going to slow down a bit. Price is going to start to pick a direction. You're going to start to really understand what's going on. So you will get more true moves here. Like I said, if we get into this zone and fail, the failure should play out, hopefully down to where we paused, but I'm going to guess down to the full rotation to the bottom. I love it. Yeah. Yes, sir. I like I said, it's really trying to be, it's Fed day, but also overall, these are the types of things that we want to do on a day-to-day basis, even without the Fed. 334 levels. I really want this to get above it. Give me a rejection or a wick test into that yellow zone and then fail. So that's what I'm also looking at. So we're on the same page there. I don't want this Delta, though, to kind of be strong when it does make the break, right? Because if it is strong like it was here, we could continue on. So if my other plan above here is right back above where I tried my long before, if it holds this zone a little bit and fails to break down, then look to take the long to rotate to the highs or at least a VWAP like I usually use that as the return. But if it's going to be the other end of the V, right, we're pushing down, making new lows, making new highs. That push through that level there should be the indication that we probably will be continuing on a little bit. So we're looking for that rejection of this level for the short to continue for now. That's our first plan. But we are mindful that there is a possibility that a breakthrough and a hold could lead to longs, right? The thing here right now is delta is pushing up, but price isn't getting that pop. So that is another type of divergence that I do play. Yeah, usually the FOMC days, you're going to get like a full rotation. Like everything's going to end up being right back where it started for the most part. Even after the release, you're going to get that whippy action, and then everything just settles to being right back to where it was. Yeah, so that's the thought processes on the day. That's why I took the long here, reasonably thinking that the overnight low would just get flushed and then rotate back to the high side. So I took one shot at it there. Realistically, I also did mention the short here, and that if we tick this, then we would take profit there. But if we were mindful of if it did flush the overnight low, we had nothing holding us up based purely off of this 30-minute, right? You could see nothing, this 30 minutes straight up every candle on that Friday, right? So all the way down to that 253.75 was pretty much, nothing there, right? So that was my thought process. If it did flush the bottom, that we would get some sort of move like we just did. Man, we're not quite at the spot where I want to short yet, but it looks like it's going to get a little bit flippy right around here. It could be nice if we do get a nice wick here right to that value area low. Could we push up one more time here, or is this going to be the failure point? Because 325 is a high value, a high volume node there, probably based off of the flush from before. S&P's is bouncing, but not very hard. It's right in the middle of a little liquidity zone. Delta is just flickering around here, playing around with this level. That 325 obviously seems like, because of this, volume node, that there is people here looking to sell. We're approaching that zone. If we get there, we get there. If we don't, we're not taking the trade. We're not forcing anything in here, like sort of kind of how we did here. I got that rejection. I really just, everything about it was rotate back the other way. And it just, sometimes you miss it. Sometimes you get stopped out. So that's just how trading goes. You look for the next good setup like we're looking for right here, right now. You are getting that good push, and Delta's not quite making that new high, right? We wanted to stay below this yellow line here. And even better would be stay below this little wick here if it does push up above that overnight low breakout point. So just be mindful, if you do get this to continue, this push of this delta, and you get that breakout, that first break is not possibly going to be your entry, right? Unless you're getting limit in and then just leave your stop somewhere as like a emergency bust out. I don't like to enter right off that as like a liquidity test, because the candle could literally go up into this area, grab some of that liquidity and rotate down. So now you are getting that confluence in the delta, right? We made new highs, making new highs in delta. That high that we saw here, if we do approach that yellow zone and we're starting to break above this, then that could be the confluence for us to continue this to the long side. We are now in the area where we were considering a short. The tilt on Top Step micros is only 65% long. I don't know about the full NQ because it's not there yet. It's going to scroll. You see this delta still pushing highs, pushing harder through. It is trying to get higher than we were even before. So be mindful of that. This cleaning up of the bottom end here. I'm not convinced on the short quite yet, right? Something needs to keep us out of certain trades, and this is that, right? This delta being so strong to the upside, price tends to catch up to that sometimes. we're 63% long, so still could look to see if this thing, that's not an unruly tilt to the high side. I do like the short idea, but it needs to give me some other reason. It can't just go right here. If it melts off right this second, I missed it, but really something about the way the price action is acting is not telling me to short yet. So be careful at this level. If that's what your plan is, to short back down through 33.75, 34, whatever your level is there. But we're cracking highs on the delta. Price isn't quite making the new high there, so that's also a divergence that we can look at. S&P's is pushing back above their little zone there, right? It's holding that area that I have as a little zone, so be mindful of that. We never quite made it down to that 53 level for the long, so just careful here. If you're going to short, you want to see some sort of more information here, because this could just continue to push us long. And now, if it does break above our level that we were long before, my plan is to go long, but I'm not going to just go long on the first, candle breaking through it. I need to see this thing give me a reason to hold and push to the high side, right? That's what we're looking at here. I want to see maybe a little consolidation or a whip breakdown, maybe come back down into here, give us one of these wick tests, and then rotate through the high. So now we're in the area where a delta is congruent. The short idea is possibly invalidated, but not quite yet, because if we do pull back to that 33 level and then retest that zone again, the next push down through 33 could be the short. Same deal with here. If it breaks above and holds, or even breaks above, gets some of these people involved here, right? This little area up into that high volume node at 55. It can get you involved at 55, rotate you down, stop you out, and then continue on to that side. So these are the two things I'm watching. We're at a level now that where I'm very interested. The direction that I end up taking it is going to be dictated by the way price acts. If it's just rockets off into the moon and I don't get an entry because it doesn't give me that extra little bit of confidence, then so be it. But usually, if you're going to get that full-blown move, it's, a lot of those hard moves like that where you see the candle do that and then rotate, that's a failure of a level, and then you come back down. So I don't want to be involved in that if it's not going to play along, right? If that's the first entry you get and it's just not like a whole body hold strong above this liquidity area, right? There's some chop up here that the price probably shouldn't just blow right through here. So grab some of these orders and then continue rotating it to the high side. We opened up here. At 400, 17,400. So possibly anticipate that level being touched. But now you got that wick on the delta. Price is pushing down. Do we have a high tilt to the long side? I don't know. We never broke through that high there, right? So we did act as a resistance, so that's a important part for the short. The only way we're going to take this long is if we crack above that level again and then hold on top of this yellow zone. If we are going to still take this short, we want to see this get close to here, not quite break it, pull back into that zone, and then the next break of the 33 should be the one that's more powerful and actually give you some follow through. NQ's 50-50 on the tilt, so really nothing as far as information there. So that is also sort of telling me that since we're in this uptrend side of this, that price is deciding on where it wants to go, but also could continue on to this upside because you're not tilty to the high side. You're not getting that 80% tilt to the high side. It's 50-50. It's slowed down. It hasn't done anything really telling us either way if it wants to short or not. Right now, you're getting the delta to push back down below here, which is nice. That is useful for our breakdown of this level for the short. But also at the same time, if it rejects here and continues to push up, then we can use that. the original short was obviously from here, right? The breakdown gave you that power and speed, but we started to see the delta speed up here. And I should have, like I said, I should have been out there after I saw that delta push and the price kind of lagging a bit. So if you start to see this delta kind of give a good flush, then maybe that might be your indication to get us out here and go down. But you're seeing delta pushing up. So it's still holding this level for now. Micros. MNQ is at 61% long. S&Ps are at 67% long. Getting a little bit more long biased. This delta is pushing up. The price is not pushing up. So if that one of these breaks first, be aware of that. So you're starting to see delta push. Price is now pushing, looking to catch up to that. So now we're looking to try and break this. If this is going to be a real true break or not, we're going to find out. And then we're going to look to see if that's going to give us our long setup or our short setup. I'm not taking that first breakout here. If I miss it, because I'm not taking the first breakout, so be it. If it fails here, right, we're getting a little bit of not a higher high on delta. Price is trying to make higher highs. The short could come in here from there. Right, price is now rejecting that high. Delta's not quite making new highs. This could be that quick setup there because it is the important level, right? Liquidity zone here, push down there, holds it here, and then breaks. So now we broke above it, just ticked it. Delta made new highs as well, so they're congruent. We're not going to look to short it from there. Now we're in the idea of potentially long, but if this does, roll over hard and fail, then that rotation down, right? So we're in the break above, come back. It needed to break above a bit further, right? I wanted to grab some of this liquidity to get stopped up to 55s. Delta's rejecting the highs. Price is pushing lower. Be mindful of the breakdown of 40. The risk from there to there is 340. This is why I didn't take that first break, right? You're gonna kind of weekly break above here. Delta's now pushing higher. The second break may be the right entry, right? Second time trying to break above this high, then you could possibly limit your risk here to the downside. If you do, just right to the bottom end of this. If it does break out, if it doesn't, then our rotation to the downside continues. This is a very important level where we're being mindful of price action, understanding which way we want the price to go, and having a plan for both ways. So if you're very long biased, the reason to stay out. If you're very short biased, the reason to stay out, and the reasons to get in on both ends. I do see this delta divergence here as possibly being a good short. Like, right, we made new highs, we wicked it. Now we're not quite making new highs again. Delta's starting to be heavy here. So this crack of 33 may be a good short there. I'm going to look to see if we can catch that again. Right below there at the volume area low. And then that's that. If it does push from here, right? Because that's where it did start to push before. You're starting to get that same sort of delta breakdown, right? If you want to front run it here, maybe you do if you're a smaller size. But look at that price action kind of speeding up. Delta's playing along. I'm waiting for this thing to be a little bit more confirmed to break through there. I think if we do crack below, then we should get the follow through. We could have took the short from here on the fake break to the high side. However, don't trust it to not quite hold this and then break above. All right, I'm in short now that we failed that overnight low. If it's just going to wick test me and get us out, then that's going to be it for the day for me for trading wise. I'm going to come back tomorrow and not trade, see what the FOMC has to offer. But this was our plan, right? If it came back to this area and failed that yellow zone and broke down through the 33s, then we should rotate back to the downside, right? So that was our plan. So we're executing on our plan. This was what we thought was going to happen. If this is just a liquidity grab to run us through the highs again, then so be it. But the delta was congruent. We made new lows. We continued to push down. Anything where it breaks this idea here, we still have been short biased throughout the day. So I'm just looking to carry this down through. You're going to start to run into some chop at that 322, 324 to 322 level, right? Where we kind of started to break out from. But otherwise, we're looking to kind of hold this thing here. We need to see this flush from the 33 levels. If it holds too well for too long, then I might want to just get out as well. But it should rotate to the downside now. There we go, getting a little bit of a push. Trying to hold this as best we can, just like the last trade. I held it, but we never really got the follow through. This is giving us actual follow through, so I'm not going to take any of this off yet. I didn't have the right account up. I don't know which account this is. Oh, that's why. I have MNQ up here instead of NQ on my DOM, so you can't see what's going on. There we go. So we're up 190 on it. Trying to get this thing to continue to flush to the downside, rotate all the way down to at least this spot where we stopped before, just purely based on this being a failure again, just grabbing more liquidity up here. The delta is still continuing to push down. There's nothing there that's telling me, hey, this is probably not a short, right? Everything is still telling me, let's keep this thing going. The delta's moving in that direction. The only, like I said, you're going to run into some issues here at 34 to 32. This is where that breakout point. If you do break down below this candle here, you should start to see a harder flush, only because people who are long would have stops there. Then 300 is going to be important as well, obviously. If this is a failed breakdown and then continues to the high side, then we're out, right? But really, what did we see here? Everything that we saw told us we're in a downtrend. This is that type of day. So let's try and hold it, try and keep strong on not giving up on this. But if it does fail that 33, be mindful that we could run right into this again. So just be careful with that. Holding it. If this rips me out, I can't say that I didn't enter correctly. The only other place I could have entered is up in that area. The proper stop is probably up in that range there. Do I want to risk that much more? Maybe. It's not that much more. Do I want to get ticked out? No, I don't. Yeah. We need to crack this bottom here. If we can break through that level there at 320, then you should see this continue to flush through. The short from this area is what we were looking at. Me and Chance Can Trade, we're both looking at that same level. So there was some confluence there to see that this is a short zone. A failure of here should continue to lead us to the downside based on the trending kind of day, but also we could rotate to the highs, right? So if that's a false breakdown, then we're going to get stopped out, and that'll be it for the day. Then back at it tomorrow. However, if we can continue this to the downside, I don't see why, if we do break here, we can't get back to where we started to, get some buys. And then realistically, like I said, our actual long zone is down here at that 253 3/4 level, right? So that's our ultimate target on this type of play here. If we can be patient with it and let it do its thing. Oh man, just really just doing us dirty here. Delta pushed way down. Price did not play along, which is very interesting to me. We should get the flush at some point here if it's going to play. Nothing saying, like, we did break right back above it, which is interesting to me, but that could just be the stops getting taken out to continue us down to the downside. So no panic there. Looking to try and hold it to get this thing to rotate to the downside. Just really continuing the flush that's been happening all day. We're very patient, waiting for price to get back to the area where we wanted to short from. We let the price set up and give us something to tell. Instead of just entering right here on the touch of it, we gave price the ability to tell us where we want it to go and where it wants to go. So we did a good job of being patient, giving our entry the appropriate idea and the appropriate room to breathe a little bit here. So now hopefully if this does end up working in our favor as far as where I think that we can be, then we should be able to rotate to the bottom just based on being patient. But realistically, price doesn't have to do anything it doesn't want to. It could run to the highs from here, and like I said, we could get stopped. It's just, we put ourselves in good positions to make good choices here. We just have to let them do its thing. Once you enter, my buddy Derek, when I was at T3, always said, you buy the ticket, take the ride. So that's what we're doing here. We're buying the ticket, taking the ride. We did our analysis. We let price get to where we wanted it to be, and now we're looking to see if it's going to do what we thought at these levels or if it's going to do something else. A rotation down to the low of 284 is the initial idea. However, like I said, if it does get to 284, I don't know if we're going to get a bounce there because we didn't clean up that whole low. And I want to see this 53s get touched. I would front run it. 56 to 58. 30-minute candle still showing us as negative. I'm being really, really patient with it. Trying to let this thing sell off. Like I said, if we do break down below the bottom of this candle here at 320, that should initiate a further flush because there should be probably some stops here for the long, because anybody who is long there probably has their stops down below here. If you get that break of that, then hopefully you can rotate down to where we started to get long from, because the sellers should pile back in. I'm holding this. I'm letting it do its thing. Sitting in a little bit of a profit, but like I said, we're trying to take 1 or 2 good trades a day, and the only way we could do that is to let this thing do its thing. And if it stops us out, then so, whatever. We had a really good plan. We have good levels. We're executing on ideas, right? So just be okay with whatever you're risking, and understand where you're taking it, and we're going to execute on plans, and slowly but surely we're going to develop a successful career over time. We're doing this all together. We're learning together. We're coming through. Every day is a learning experience with the trading markets. With the Fed today, I really feel like they want to sell this thing down to the bottom of this little that explosive pop from Friday, because I feel like they want to buy whatever the Fed says. No matter what they say, I feel like they want to buy it. So the best way that they're going to buy it is if prices are down at levels that they would prefer to buy at. That's what algos do. The only thing that we have starting to form here is a little bit of like the wedge triangle thing. So be careful of that too. But the bottom end of this here should crack, right? You want this to break this low here. Whatever that line is that I just drew, that's where stops are likely to be, because this is such a strong breakout point. Delta's flattening out. Price is not making new lows. If price starts to push and this doesn't play along, then you might get a wick test at the bottom here and a rotation. So watch that as well. Right, if Delta starts to push up while this is starting to flush the low, then you might be in for a rotation back to the high. But I'm going to be careful with it. It seems like it's starting to work in our favor, so it should be good on this breakdown now. Patience pays, people. Let's see it. Let's see it rotate down. Got to rotate, got to push through. Delta's now trying to make that low. Price is not trying to make the low. We're at the upper end of this wedge. You could see a little bit of a wick of it and then rotate down. Let's see. Let's see if that happens. If it wicks this 333 again and then pushes to the downside. The price is speeding up. There's a little bit of a harder push to the downside. Delta's also starting to push the lows. Price hasn't made new lows, so that hopefully it'll carry us and it'll catch up. This is just a patience play here. If I was being aggressive, I would add to the bottom of this. Add a second contract to the bottom of this to rotate it down. Let's go. Come on. Do your thing. If you're going to break down now. Let's go. Come on. Floating in this. We're waiting for this thing to break. Attaboy. 216. Love it. Good shit, Ray. Now we're breaking above. Hopefully that's just a little bit of a tickle and a rotate to the downside, but you are getting this lower high, higher low, higher low, higher low, kind of grabbing some buyers in here. I'm gonna try and let this thing play. Like I said, this is my one last shot of the day, one last trade, giving it the opportunity to breathe. If it does crack that high again, then our long trade idea was the right idea. However, the way it's set up for the short, so we took the short. So that's what we did. If it does the opposite and it runs me over here, then, I've just had a tough go at it the last few days. If not, we're going to continue to see if this thing will push to the downside and give us the move that we want to see. If this is going to be a false break of this little wedge, that we should fail and continue to the downside here and give us a good push. If it does do that, I want to add to this. I don't kind of maximize the profits on this kind of trade there. I want this to be a failed breakout once again. Look at that thing push. Price has not really violently pushed above here, so I feel like this is still just grabbing some liquidity to sell us off again one more time. I am not wholly confident, but the S&Ps is pushing further down, looking to push lows now. So if that is leading us like it has been the last few days, then this should continue to push down now. Hopefully now that we've grabbed enough liquidity here at the highs, faking people out through the wedge, and we can get this melt off here. I am going to add one below this 20 level here. It's going to be below this candle because if there are stops below, I want this to be like another piece of my puzzle to get us to get that out and off, to push us further through. Because if it's just going to tick that 319, 320, then I don't want to be just entered there. I'm willing to, take that little bit extra piece. Because I feel like a failure of 333 now again with that break of the wedge. If we can break this as a failed break above to push us back to the downside, then this ad should have no problem getting off down below here. Really, honestly, I'll front run it right to the top end of this range just so I can get that one contract off and then have that one runner on risk-free. Because that's going to give me securing a 560. That'll get us in profit on the day. And then whatever the ad gets us will be even more of a net win there. So we're going to look to see this thing try and rotate through this. If it was a failed breakout from that wedge pattern there, then we can get this to roll over. Let's see this thing from that 33 level, that overnight low held as the high of this area. S&Ps is rolling over pretty good. So it just ticked the lows again. And NASDAQ earlier today followed the S&Ps. It was a bit of a laggard. So looking to see if this will help us with our move here. It is holding this breakout. I want this thing to start to really melt hard here soon. If not, we're going to try and cut out. But I think this S&P pushing down even now further should help this trade. Right? We've been lagging a lot on the S&Ps. So the NASDAQ should not be holding up as it is. Once again, that's the shit that we got going on. I wanted to pull up this. We are right at the value area low. Nvidia's pushing highs. Microsoft pushing down lower. And Apple bouncing. So that's really what's getting us to diverge from the NASDAQ, from the S&Ps. But I think that it doesn't matter. I think we're going to be... It's its own thing today. Yesterday was its own thing. Today it's probably its own thing. I think the S&P's pushing down is going to help us, though. There's the push. Come on now. It's tightening up. It's tightening up. It's tightening up, right? This wedge has now become a new and improved pattern. So you get the crack of this now to the downside, possibly. There you go. That should be our push. Come on now, push down. S&Ps also pushing lows. If we get the add-on, then the stops are going to go above here. But if we do get stopped into this, I'm going to expect that push to go hard. We probably won't be... If this does add on correctly, then reasonably, this is just going to tick off on that within a minute or two. So our stop shouldn't be an issue wherever it is. I don't want to front run my ad. It would be nice, to kind of cost average up here. Delta is pushing again higher. This is just a chop spot. Maybe it does want to break above. S&P is not pushing the lows. It's just holding the bottom here. Delta congruent, price pushing higher. Looking like we're probably going to get stopped on this. If it does break above our level where we're looking to go long, that's the reason we have to stop up there, because another test of that breakout should be probably pushed up into 55s. We don't want to risk more than that. If this does melt off here, we want to be involved in this. I would love to get my add-on up here, but I don't trust it to be a true breakdown with the way this price has been acting. So I'm going to leave my stop, my secondary entry below here to try and add on, get that second one off, secure a little bit of profit on there, and then just go from there. Because if it does break that bottom, it should continue to flush. Same as the top. If it breaks this high, it should continue on, right? So we're building up. It seems like we're building up longs here, unfortunately. Look at that thing push now. It's grabbed enough liquidity here where this is probably likely to push through here. If it doesn't push through here and it fails now, then hopefully that will be our final time trying to push above this overnight low, and we can just fail that and break down. That would be a beautiful thing. But if not, we're, like I said, we did our analysis. We entered appropriately as we saw fit here. I thought if we did re-accept down here and rotate down, it was multiple times where we did try to push down and didn't fully fail. That should have failed us all the way back down to this level here if it was going to. Now that we're building this buying pressure here, the rotation back to VWAP is possible if we crack and get stopped out. So like I said, if we get cracked up here, get through the high and stopped out, probably to 63s at least. 55s definitely, right? It's going to push us higher. So our long idea was the right idea. But it was, now we are out. We're done for the day. Two losses, down 700. Two back-to-back days of just trash for me. Can't be mad at it. Moving forward, the next few days, we're going to have to be trading micros, and we're going to try and build out of this, right? So we took our chance at this, right? We explained the reasoning behind why we took this short. We broke above. The idea was if it got into this zone and broke above here and held, we were going to take it long. If it failed this level here and rotated down, we were going to go short through the overnight low, looking to rotate back down to the lows. If this is just a tick out and we're done, then, you know, and our whole idea was correct, then so be it. You know, we had to be out somewhere. Realistically, now that we have pushed above here, grabbed all this liquidity from below the overnight low, potentially, you know, I thought maybe that we're going to rotate the highs, but now it seems like it's just going to be one of these little, but look at that nice little break of this wedge. Two attempts at well thought out, planned out trades that just get stopped out, and that's, you know, kind of how it goes here in this trading game. You know, if you get stopped out, you get stopped out. Do we want to take this short now? Is that the actual liquidity grab, right? We never even came close to the delta high there. Do we break down this area here and rotate to the lows? Possibly. Don't want to FOMO too much. We've got 15 minutes left in the stream. You know, we are burning our XFAs. This thing looks like it just keeps grabbing that liquidity, keeps grabbing it, and now we want to break down below the 33s and now rotate down to the lows. Then, you know, that's what we did, right? S&Ps didn't carry us down like I thought they would. It's been diverging. Nasdaq's been doing literally its own thing the entire week, right? It hasn't been really correlated to anything. I didn't look at Apple or anything today, so now my Apple's failing, Microsoft's rolling over, Nvidia failing a high. So then now you get the rollover that you expect. I'm taking the short here. That's a failed break above. It didn't get triggered in. Good. String together some wins, but realistically, this is a. If this doesn't fail right here, right now, then we're gonna take off this order. We gotta take one more shot at it there. It's just on the pure premise of this thing wanting to fail. If it does rotate through now, then it should be a harder flush. But if it doesn't, if it rejects and holds and grabs and rotates to the high, then that's your idea for the long, right? I'm flattening that. Let me get over here to micros. The MNQs. I'm selling this here on the micro. So now you know that I'm not on a full contract here. Just to mitigate my risk on this this idea here. Obviously, this is, since I switched to micros, probably will play out. But I had to limit my upside risk. I'm not trying to blow this account up. Limit my downside risk, I should say. Let this thing roll over. I took 2 micros. I want to take it all the way down to 57s. That could still net us, if it does play out the whole way, could net us pretty good. Looking to, like I said, down below here, if you could flush the 17s, that's where we would have added. That was a grab of liquidity above, so we are short on this micros. See, there we go. Now you're actually getting that flush of that spot where the stop should have came at 320. So now if you do break it again, you should get an actual true flush of that area. Then you got to be mindful of 300. But that's what we're looking at now. I might add 2 on there just to play that strategy out, right? Oh, I can't add 2 because I have not enough buying power already. That's right. When you draw down, you got to just be mindful of that. So no more adds. We're just going to leave it alone and trail it out as we see it hit our target points. The first target point was that 309, 310 area for securing some of this profit. So if it does get down to about here, we're going to move our stop to break even. We're only risking $50 on this trade with the micros, looking to see if we can rotate it down. There's plenty of power in selling micros. I know Ray is in here. He does micros. He's easily makes a couple $100+ a day trading a couple micro contracts. So there is power there behind the micros. And also, if you do like to shed contracts, you could add multiple ones on. 10 micros is 1 mini. So having that the ability to shed off contracts as you move in your direction is pretty nice to have that ability. We did get the breakdown. Now we're trying to push back up to it. Didn't quite get the total flush. Good thing we weren't able to add there. I mean, we never actually would have gotten triggered because our ad would have been right down here at 1750. But very interesting how this price action is acting right now. At this point, it's probably time to shut it down if it does stop us out. This is the very, very last trade. I switched to micros just to see what would happen with this breakdown from that area, right? Still looking to try and rotate to the bottom end of this little between these two zones here before the Fed meeting. Nvidia is pushing up, so Microsoft is popping after the failed breakdown, and Apple also pushing highs. So that's going to push us probably out on this because of that, all those equities pushing there. But if not, if we continue to hold below 33, that's that overnight low right there. I don't have it drawn up on the micros, but there it is. We would actually should be in up there. So we should be at right around break even right now. We are not. Maybe I can sell one. No, I can't. I don't have one more. It's 2 contracts only. Have one, if I do end up getting down here again, start to look to take some off down below here. But we're out. We're flat now. So there we go. Flat on the day. Down a solid $800. Like I said, just a very choppy day. The last 2 or 3 days, these are days obviously you should probably stay out of the markets. We had some pretty good ideas. I'll switch back to the NQ. Righty, where are we at? NQ. Stream only goes to 11 on the day, so we got 4 more minutes. We had an idea here. We attempted to execute it a couple times, just didn't work out. Right? We had a long idea from here that ended up not playing for us on the bounce, so we got our 1 loss there. We took a second loss on this really nice breakdown of the overnight low and just didn't get any follow through on it. We stopped out up here. So 0 for 2 on the trades. I took the other last trade on a micro just to see if this would follow through on the breakdown. Obviously it did not. So until 1 o'clock, I would kind of anticipate maybe we don't break out of this little range that we got going on here. If it does right here, right now, then so be it. You know, we can't take any more trades. We have limited ourselves to those 3 losses. You know, moving forward for the week and into next month, we have to really do a lot better a job on execution on certain ideas. Like the one we called out earlier, I called out this breakdown right here, saying that if we do break this, we're going to rotate to overnight lows. You know, beautiful, ideal move right there. We didn't take that. I saw the failure here, got my divergences, was looking to fade the extreme. Then, you know, we ended up failing that and rotating down, got stopped out there. So that was our first loss. Like I said, nothing wrong with that trade idea. That was a setup that I take all the time and works out. So, you know, to take a loss on it is what it is. And then we took this as a failed break here, right? We failed this high over here. We were looking to say if it broke above here and held, we were going to go long. If it fails here and rotates back through that 33, 34 level, we were going to short it. We did. We got in the money a little bit, and then it rotated right back up, stopped us out. Here again, we're back in that zone, and we're kind of just playing with these levels here. Yeah, so we took a micro short through here, got in the money a little bit, and then failed again right through the highs. So really, we're looking at a choppy rest of the day until that FOMC meeting. Don't kill yourself. Don't overtrade in a day like today. You know, we still have a little bit of room left in both of these accounts to try and grind them back out, and that's what we're going to do starting tomorrow. You know, after the Fed meeting, after we get all this, we do have Apple earnings tomorrow, so we still will have some movement going on, but realistically, until then, it's 11 o'clock. I'm going to be done for the day for now. May, if I can get back on by 2, I may, but right now, looking at this, you know, that was the move to take there. Obviously, the bounce play here worked out, but it was not anywhere near a zone that I was looking to go long on. So you're looking at some chop for the rest of the day up until this FOMC meeting. Follow-throughs maybe unlikely to happen. You might get back to VWAP if you do break through here right now. But otherwise, you know, just be careful of what you're doing in days like today, in weeks like this. Stringing together a couple bad days. I ended January pretty crappy. Not going to lie to you. I've drawn down both of my accounts to levels that are almost going to be very, very hard to dig out of, but we're going to do it, and we're going to show you how to not give up on accounts how to scale down, how to bring it back, and then hopefully, we look back sometime in the middle of February with some green in the accounts, and we'll build back from there. And then whatever happens from there, we'll adjust. I'm gonna keep streaming every day live, 8:30 till 11. Just really got to be a little more focused on and limit those big losing days, right? I had those 2 big losing days that really killed me, and then today was more just trying to be too careful and, executing on good setups, but nothing happening from those setups. So, can't be mad at what we did play out here. We were only up just a little bit on this trade, so nothing that we would have been like happy to secure as far as, after taking that kind of risk on it, right? We're looking to risk to the high there, and that's really what we got going on. I think talking these out every day, all day, realistically, we're doing a good job of working together as far as getting levels together and understanding what we're doing. But it's just unfortunate to kind of kill the month the way it is. I'm not going to try and overtrade this and blow it up. So we're going to get off now. I got to go run some errands, and maybe I might be able to get back on for that Fed meeting. Probably not, but just be mindful of it. You're going to get some whippy action. The number is going to come out with nothing. That's all right. No worries. I appreciate you getting on, Wilson. It's always a pleasure to see you. Yeah, we the last few days I've been just trading like pretty crappy, to be honest. Nothing like overly bad, right? Yesterday was just more over trading than anything, trying to get back to even instead of just taking my losses, and then sort of leading into today. Mentality and everything wise, we had good plans. Just the trades just didn't play out. So overall, just trying to limit my risk on these. These kind of play. If I would have actually executed on that one and I told people about it and said that this is an eyeball. Watch this level. We were in a channel to the downside. This could be that next final leg to get us to that overnight low, right? That's a great trade there. So we have the ideas, we have the execution. This was also just a good setup that didn't work out. Also here, another good setup just that didn't quite get the follow through that we wanted, so we ended up getting stopped out for full loss on it. So overall, like I said, executed on our plan. Just sometimes you lose money. Really going forward. Now the next few days, I got to try and grind out of a hole. I'm going to use micros. Going to try and really take one really good trade at a time, secure some profits, dig ourselves out of the hole, not giving up on these accounts. Also got to try and maybe look to get into one more combine to get back funded on, to recover some of these. But realistically, like I said, I was up every day in January. I did everything I wanted to except for 2 really big days that kind of screwed everything up. So don't let 1 or 2 days be the downfall of your accounts, right? So that's really what I have to say about that for today. Be mindful of the FOMC meeting. Price action is probably going to start to slow down and chop around a lot until that happens. So until tomorrow, 8 a.m., be mindful of that, the FOMC. And then obviously, like I said, we'll be back on tomorrow, same time, but we're going to try and grind out of this hole. I'm confident that we're, making the right choices. We'll keep being able to make good decisions out here and good trades. So until tomorrow, I'll see you all later. Don't forget, if you're on YouTube, check out Tradecaster, sign up for the free trial. Head over to daytradingcoffeeco.com. Use code PolicingPips. It's my new coffee company for traders, by traders. We're trying to make a community over there as well. It's gonna be a good thing. Eventually, I'm gonna try and use a portion of the profits as we profit to fund underfunded traders, get them into combines, get them trading, and eventually, hopefully, once we can boost sales enough, we can try and work with a brokerage and do some cash account stuff. So I'm pretty excited for the future of that company. But if you do, like I said, head over to daytradingcoffeecompany.com and you'll be able to use my code PolicingPips for 15% off because it is my company. So I will know if you went over there or not. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be careful with the Fed meeting. Don't do what I did yesterday. Don't overtrade. Don't FOMO. And you'll be all right. Trade for tomorrow, right? I drew down enough today where I'm saying that's enough, especially on a Fed day. So Until tomorrow, like